every time the military carries out a major event, it falls nothing short of just exemplary. And we've just witnessed the Kenya Air Force, the might of the Kenya Air Force and the Kenya Defence Force at large in the 60th anniversary of this particular event. And of course, we've just heard from a number of key speakers, which Timothy Kipnusu has highlighted on a number of them. But the President has also touched upon that he will be communicating to the Johnson Sakaja-led Nairobi County government to talk to developers so that they do not build buildings that surpass the required amount of buildings that have been the amount of floors they're required to build, which of course helps the airbase in terms of the landing and liftoff of some of those aircrafts that you are witnessing in that particular expansive airbase. And of course, it is a good news for all airport operators as well as people who are aspiring to become pilots, where the President has announced that a minimum of 200 pilots will be trained by the Kenya Air Force every year starting next year. And of course, I still have my guest here and a combination of over 70 years of experience within the Kenya Defence Forces. That is Major Stanley Kiama, retired, that is with over 40 years of experience. Thank you, sir, for still staying with us. And a retired Colonel of Kenya Air Force, that is Seth Shava, with 30 years of experience. Thank you, sir, for still staying with us. Let me start with you. Colonel Shava, what have you picked up from the three key speakers who have just talked to the Kenya Defence Force, but the country at large?
Well, I think the issue of pilot training is big. Yes. It's very big. Pilot training is a very expensive thing. One of the ways to train people in that industry, the whole aviation industry, is through the Air Force. You get to train pilots in the Air Force, they fly, they do their duty in the Air Force, then move over to the commercial side. Similarly for technicians. And history has shown us that in countries where there's no Air Force, the commercial part of aviation has not done very well. In fact, in some countries that's collapsed. So yeah, that's a good move. Yeah? And that is a way of the government investing in specialized training. That would be otherwise too expensive to be undertaken by a private or commercial enterprise.
And of course, Major, you've just heard the President announcing that he met with Joe Biden. Clearly, the presidential administration of Joe Biden have promised us in terms of ensuring that we'll get equipments and capabilities. Even his recent visit to South Korea has just said the South Koreans have promised as well capabilities to ensure that our capabilities are enhanced through the equipments that we'll be receiving. This is good news not only to music ears to the Kenya Defence Forces, but to the country at large.
That's true. Actually, elevating Kenya to a major non-NATO ally is actually a great win for this country, a great win for the East African region, and actually a great win for Africa. Now, looking at those countries which have been given this status, Egypt, Tunisia, and Morocco. Egypt was given this status 1981, 82, only after signing peace with Israel. Now, Egypt is actually a gatekeeper to both the Mediterranean Sea and the Red Sea. Also, Tunisia is very well spaced or very well positioned in the middle of the Mediterranean. Also, if you look at Morocco, Morocco keeps the gate for Atlantic and the Straits of Gibraltar. Equally, Kenya is very well placed because we are guarding the Indian Ocean. We are very close to the Middle East. And this will give us a new status in Africa. Actually, if Kenyans realize what President Ruto has given us, it is a great opportunity that in 15 years, Kenya could actually be moving fast towards the Eastern Tigers. I like the idea of his leadership because when you have a leader who is both pragmatic and very practical and a patriot, when you start, there are a lot of problems, but people will reach a place and they will say, oh, you mean this is what he intended to do? Actually, Kenya will be a great country if we move the way we are moving. Thank you.
And Colonel Shava, we have seen even the president talking about the humanitarian aid the Kenya Defence Force at large has been providing, especially the Kenya Air Force during this floods we have been witnessing in the country that unfortunately we have seen over 300 Kenyans losing their lives. How critical is the humanitarian aid, especially from the military side?
Well, that is one of the critical duties.
Yes,
assistance to civil authority. That is bestowed upon our defense forces. And then, so you see that the Air Force building its capabilities during those times of disaster by using the equipment that they have. They're going to rescue people in flood areas who can't come out, or going in there and actually delivering food and medicines for those who are stuck in there. And it's only the Air Force that has that capability. Yeah, and that is one of his major roles in society.
Yes, indeed. We've even seen the president through his administration, especially in this financial year, in the budget that is going to be 4.006 trillion rather. We've seen the Ministry of Defense being allocated 100 billion to that effect. And of course, we've seen even the former CDF general, that is the late Francis Ogola, has also been accorded a miniature sword. What does that signify? Tell us, Major. What is the importance of that miniature sword, especially to a high-ranking KDF official like the late Francis General Ogola?
Okay, the sword has two meanings. The sword shows leadership, is a sign of leadership. And the sword is also an instrument. For example, when the president is actually being sworn in, he is given that sword. It's a symbolic thing for actually showing power. That sword is a thing that he uses to tell someone, I can use this sword to give justice to the country. Now, so when a person, a military man is given that miniature sword, it is saying that you are recognized. Your service was not in vain. That is why it is very important to give those officers who led those miniature swords. Now, I want to say this, that a country develops, one, because of good politics. If the politics fail, there is no country that succeeds. Politics brings peace. If politics have failed, people disagree, people start stoning each other. But when people can have differences, but they agree to discuss, the country goes forward. And if we continue praying for our country, this country, we are going places. It will be peaceful, and I'm sure within a few years we will start seeing the fruits of hard work, the fruits of patriotism, and the benefits of having wise leadership in a country. Thank you.
And Colonel Shava, we're talking about, the president has just said something that is very significant. If you're just joining us, the president clearly said that the Kenya Air Force will be training over 200 pilots every year starting next year. Tell us, how significant will that be, especially for the international airports we have in this country?
Oh, well, if you look at Kenya Airways right now, they have a big shortfall of pilots. And Kenya Airways does not train any pilots. Most of our pilots come out of small training institutions that are very expensive. Yeah. For you to get a license, you will require at least 3-4 million shillings. Not many people can afford that. So this opportunity now for the government to undertake that responsibility through the Air Force will produce enough pilots, like you said, not only for Kenya.
Exactly.
only for Kenya. You go beyond Kenya, the East African region, and it's global because they issue licenses nowadays that are recognized globally. So you find right now we have Kenyan pilots a lot of Kenyan pilots in the Middle East, in Asia, such places. It's good for the country. Excellent. That would be a big boost for the aviation industry.
Can I maybe add a little bit?
Yes.
I have somebody who lives in Seattle, where they make the Boeing. There is talk in the whole world now that there is a shortage of pilots.
Everywhere.
Everywhere in the world. Imagine what this idea by the president will do to us. There will be so many jobs for those pilots. As a matter of fact, Atlanta, Georgia, where he has just come from, this airline called what? Is it Delta? They are short of pilots. You go to all those airlines in America, they are short of pilots. So this is a game changer. Anyone who gets 2,000 flying hours, you are lucky. So this is actually wonderful for this country, that if our country can train 200 pilots trained by our own Air Force, and we are not only training for the Air Force, but for the country. Isn't that wonderful?
Yes. Indeed it is, given that the President has been clearly stating that we need to capitalize on the human resource we have.
Exactly.
And we can also capitalize it by shipping it abroad and into other countries where there is a shortage of those pilots you're just clearly stating. The President has also talked, as well as the CDF General Colonel, we're talking about how the threats are morphing, are ever changing, and the President is talking about modernizing the Kenya Defence Forces. And in terms of keeping up with the technology, you know where we're headed. The world is becoming technological advanced. Now, given that this is already in gear, with KDF leading that particular charge, how crucial will this be when it comes to security, not just in our country, but beyond our borders?
Well, the nature of the enemy has changed. We used to have what we call conventional warfare, two armies facing each other. But that has changed. We are now in what we call the fourth generation warfare, where there are no armies. You're not fighting an army. Al-Shabaab is a group, an amorphous group. There's no structured leadership. They're everywhere. That means that you have to change your ways.
Okay, in just a few minutes, we need to change your mic. Sorry for that technical glitch, Colonel. We'll be changing that in just a few. You can pick up, Major, on the same issue, on how it will be significant for our country now, in the region at large.
Very good. As my senior here has said, the enemy or the battlefront of 1980s, even 1990 and then 2000, is no longer the same. Today, many people many armies used to use a lot of tanks. Many people used to use a lot of artillery.
Yes.
Today, the battlefront has become very, very, very electronic. We are using drones. So we are actually changing because of the way the enemy is changing. There is the threat of terrorism. That's a major issue. So whatever we are doing will mainly be intelligence-led operations. In other words, a lot of effort is put on surveillance. For example, when you are going to the battlefield, you make sure you have enough intelligence resources deployed overseas, above, so that they can see your enemy wherever they are. There are a lot of electronic gadgets today which can locate even where somebody is dug in. So the world is changing. In fact, today, if you look at our country, we've been having this issue of the Al-Shabaab. It is a problem that has disturbed us. The government of Kenya is trying to build the road, the major line from Lamu all the way to Garissa, Isiolo, Lake Turkana. That highway is getting a lot of problems because of the Al-Shabaab. So what we require is more more airborne resources that our troops, like we have just been shown in that clip by the Air Force, our troops can move fast and neutralize and come back. So we need to change because the threat is changing. Thank you.
Colonel, sorry for that. Now you can pick up where you left.
Yeah, basically he's just finished off what I was saying. So we are no longer in the battlefield, in the open fields. We are into urban warfare. The terrorists can strike anywhere. They are not identifiable as an army. So, like he said, what you need most is information, and what we call ISR, collection of information. You need to listen out there because they are communicating. That's how you gather information so that you can deal with them. So, so even your combat equipment has changed. Like now we don't need fighter jets as much as we need helicopters, for instance.
Even looking at the welfare, the president is clearly stating in his affordable housing agenda, over 10,000 houses will be built for our men and women who are gallantly serving our country. And of course, the housing has never been an issue in KDF, but how crucial will this be for these servicemen and women?
One, you need a soldier to have comfort. When this soldier is in the battlefront, he worries about his child. He worries about his wife. He worries about transport for this child to go to school. I remember staying for almost 2 years in Iran. It was a very difficult thing. Every day I have to ring. Is my child alive? Is my child going to school? This is a game changer. That once these soldiers have those houses, they will work. His mind is just there. And the worst thing that can happen to a soldier in any war is that soldier to have psychological torture when he doesn't know what is happening at home. As a matter of fact, if you remember the soldiers who went to Somalia and they were attacked, they were bombed one day, it's because maybe somebody had forgotten about the welfare. So if you take care of the welfare, and housing is the first thing, you have captured those men. They will work hard for the country. Another thing is that when a family has a home, that is the start of making a new life. If you have no house, you can see you don't have anything. But if you have a home, that is the first step towards becoming a better country, towards becoming a more richer country. I think we are doing well. I also liked the idea where he said that the military will take a lead in climate change. Where I grew up in Murang'a, I was born in a place called Dakaini. We give people in Nairobi water. You can't believe it, sir. The trickle of the water now is just a drop. But when I was in high school in Thika, to cross the Chania it was a big falls. But today, we need to take over our environment for us to survive. For our future generation to have food, we need it. And by the way, we need also to think about wastage of a lot of water. Look at what has happened to our country. There is so much water, it has just gone to the Indian Ocean. At least we need to store this water someplace. Mudogashi. Habaswen. Is a beautiful place where you can grow a lot of rice. Only if we have harvesting of water.
Thank you so much. Thank you, gentlemen. We have run out of time. We thank you for your wise wisdom. And given that we've seen even former KDF soldiers being recognized and honored, we honor you as well, given that you have given this country over 70 years of experience and your service. Tunashukuru sana. Thank you so much. And of course, that was Major Stanley Kiyama, retired. That is over 40 years of experience within the Kenya Defence Forces. Retired Colonel of the Kenya Air Force, that is Seth Shava, with 31 years of experience in the KDF Forces. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us for this morning session and in the afternoon as well. We need to wrap up this conversation, given that in the next few minutes we need to inform you on what is happening here in the country and beyond our borders. This was a production by the Kenya Broadcasting Corporation and the Kenya Air Force, the Kenya Defence Force, for the Kenya Air Force 60th anniversary at the Moi Air Base in Nairobi. The function has been concluded, and our reporter Timothy Kipnusu will be duly informing us in our subsequent bulletins. But for now, good afternoon and see you in a few minutes.